Welcome to the Master Builder Show, sponsored by the First National Bank of Weatherford. I am your host, Jim Gibson, president of Gibson Home Builders Incorporated, a registered builder in the state of Texas, a graduate master builder certified by the National Association of Home Builders, a current member of the National Green Building Council, Texas Association of Home Builders, the National Association of Home Builders, Greater Fort Worth Builders Association, and past president of Parker County Builders Association. Today's topic is general residential construction and code of ethics. My guest today is Ricky Clark of Clark Homes. And how are you this morning, Ricky?
Great, Jim. Yourself?
I'm doing very well. I've also got my wife, Jean Gibson.
I was beginning to wonder.
Well, anyway, I knew you would speak up. So.
And on your introduction, you missed one line.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you've just been elected to the board for East Parker County Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, yeah.
Yada!
Anyway, I hate to add anything else to the thing. Ricky, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a law enforcement officer here in Weatherford. Work for Parker County Sheriff's Office. Also a home builder. Been doing that for a while. And while we're on the topic, running for Constable Precinct 2 this year. I'm your Republican candidate. So everybody get out there and vote on March the 4th. How about it?
March the 4th?
March the 4th.
It's going to all be decided in the primary.
All right.
Excellent.
Yeah. So when you get out there, vote for Ricky Clark, March the 4th for Constable Precinct 2. Anyway, today's topic is general residential construction and code of ethics. And what you wanted to talk about something.
Yeah, I got a couple of things I want to cover before you get into this construction stuff.
Okay. This is a construction show, remember?
Yeah, I know, but there's a couple of points that I wanted to make. We have a website, and on our website, every one of these shows is retained and podcast. And you can get to the website and see Jim's show notes. You can see previous show notes, but you can also listen to every one of the shows that we've ever done. So you can either go to www.gibsonhomebuilders.com, which is Gibson Home Builders is one word, .com.
Or Master Builder Show.
Or Master Builder Show. You can get to it either way, and then just click and follow the prompts. And you can see all the show notes, all the different topics. And we've got a sponsor site for our show sponsors. Anyone that's ever sponsored us, all our dear and faithful friends, are up there. And it gives their name and a contact phone number, so that if you hear of a product on one of the sponsors, you've missed who their proper name was and you want to find them, you can go to that sponsor section on www.gibsonhomebuilders.com and find the sponsors section, find the notes, listen to the shows with the ads in it.
Well,
and I really want to encourage the use of our website because it's there. We have people outside of the listening area who want to hear the shows.
Well, and I've got a link there. You can click on the live feed for qxfm.com. Also, to get to the podcast and get registered for the podcast, you go to iTunes. There's a little icon over there under my
just
picture.
Follow the
there.
clicks.
Yeah, just follow the notes anyway.
And the second thing, there were two things.
Okay.
And I really wanted to emphasize that what we want to encourage are call-ins. What we want to encourage are people that will either send us an email or call us on while we're on the air to ask questions. And if there's a particular topic that you want to discuss, call in. Jim is a wealth of information, but I don't want him to get a big head about any of this. So you can call in and ask him questions. He really does have a lot of answers. And if he doesn't have it, he knows where to find it, and he can get back with you. So I encourage you to call the station number, which I don't even remember. You've got that.
877-341-8950. And this show is designed to educate and answer any questions that any listener may have on residential construction or anything dealing with building, remodeling, or repairing, maintaining a home in the state of Texas, or just about anywhere in the nation. I know the answer or get the answer. And if you've got any questions, like I said, call us at 877-341-8950. And also to check out any builders that you're thinking about using and all that stuff. It's also, you can go to www.masterbuildershow.com and it'll take you to my main website and click on TRCC and it'll take you into their website. And you can check out and make sure a builder is registered and to do business in the state of Texas.
Just like Clark Holmes, right?
Like Clark Holmes.
Just like
Clark Holmes is a registered builder. And if your builder's not registered, what should you do?
You should not use him. And that should be a flag. If he's not registered, then he doesn't need to be building in the state of Texas. There's some reason he's not building. Or if he is building, there's some reason he's not registered. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I know Ricky builds some excellent houses. I know
energy efficient, right,
highly
Ricky?
Energy efficient.
Really went overboard on this last one, I'll tell you.
Where's your last house?
My last one's at 119 Gibson Lane. So just outside
Imagine
of Weatherford.
that.
Yeah, believe it or not.
In Zion Hill Estates.
Zion Hill Estates, good place.
Yeah, they're 1 acre lots and minimum 1,500 square foot, 100% masonry on the exterior, and you did all that. And I'm proud to have you as a builder in one of my additions out there. So anyway, today, you got any other things to say?
No, I had two things. Those are two things I wanted to emphasize.
That's
the
it.
Website. Email us. You can always email me, or you can email Jim.
I don't think
and
you know
then
anything
call in.
All right, our today's topic is general construction and code of ethics, and the reason I bring up this code of ethics is I am a graduate master builder certified by the National Association, and this is something that you have to sign when you the process of getting certifications. They're called designation courses, and to start out, you've got to take a bar exam. And I'm not a lawyer, but this is a builder's assessment review. And what you do, you go down and take the bar exam, and it's generally on all types of construction questions pertaining to residential construction. And what you do, that will allow you to get your knowledge level, and they'll print out the results right then and tells you what courses you've got to take. And when I took mine originally, I don't remember when it was, but it's several years back, I came up and I was short on the real estate side of it, the sales portion of it, and marketing part of it. All the construction part, I flew through. So I ended up having to take, I think, 24 hours or something to get my certified graduate builder. And when the thing is, it says, as a certified graduate builder in good standing, I believe and accept the responsibilities and obligations inherent in providing building services. Basic to these ethical beliefs, I agree and abide by and support the following objectives: to conduct my business affairs with professionalism and skill, to comply with the rules, regulations prescribed by law and government articles for health, safety, welfare of the community, to provide the best building value possible. Also, provide timely responses to items covered under warranties, to protect the customer through the use of high-quality materials and building practices backed by integrity and service, to seek to resolve any controversy which I may become involved in through non-litigation dispute resolution mechanism, to not attempt to injure with malicious intent, either directly or indirectly, the professional reputation, prospects, practice, or employment of another builder. So that means I can't talk about another builder in a bad way. I can brag about them, but I cannot say anything negative. Mm-hmm. To also comply with the spirit and letter of my business contracts and manage all of my employees, subcontractors, and suppliers with fairness and honor. To keep informed regarding public policies and other essential information which affect my business interests and those of building industry as a whole. To support and abide by the decisions of the associations in promoting and enforcing these code of ethics. And I have to maintain these. If I don't, then I am subject to losing all my certifications. And that's one thing that I don't want to do because after I got my my certified graduates, I went on and took another 40 hours over a period of, I think, 2 years to get my graduate master certification. And looks like Ace says we've got to come up on a break here. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Did you know that some of the best home builders in the entire nation are right here in Parker County? Hello, everyone. This is Lynn Bearden, president of First National Bank of Weatherford. Our lenders believe your family deserves the best when it comes to your dream home. First National Bank is proud to support the Master Builder Show on QXFM. First National Bank in Weatherford has been building homes in Parker County since 1880. Member FDIC and an equal housing lender.
YourCircleOfWealth.com. A recent study by one of the world's largest financial institutions estimates that over 90% of baby boomers will not retire financially independent. We have prepared a financial report entitled Your Circle of Wealth. Learn how changing the way you manage your money can dramatically increase your wealth. To get a copy, you may go to www.yourcircleofwealth.com and enter the passcode Gibson, Gibson. That's yourcircleofwealth.com.
Fort Worth Lighting, serving Parker, Wise, Palo Pinto, and surrounding counties with selections of interior and exterior lighting fixtures. They also have ceiling fans, vanities, and mirrors in all styles. A lighting consultant will help you with your decisions. To make an appointment with Fort Worth Lighting Consultant, you may call 817-597-6320 or visit us on the web at ftworthlighting.com. That's 817-597-6320. Zion Hill Estates, 5 minutes from the center of Weatherford. Grocery stores, hospitals, banks, and department stores. In the Peaster School District, 1 acre lot minimums give you space to spread your arms and enjoy country living. Jim Gibson will build you the home of your dreams in Zion Hill Estates. North of the square to 920, left to Zion Hill Road, then 2.4 miles to Zion Hill Estates. Jim Gibson would like to show you the land in his energy-efficient model home. You can call Jim at 682-429-2116. Gibson Home Builders Incorporated, 2401 Zion Hill Road, Weatherford, Texas, 682-429-2116. We specialize in homes to suit each and every individual that expects special attention. We help design, finance, and close on every home we build. We use green building techniques in all of our homes. You can contact Jim at masterbuildershow.com. Gibson Home Builders Incorporated, Weatherford, 682-429-2116. Welcome back to the Master Builder Show. I am your host, Jim Gibson. Today's show is sponsored by the First National Bank of Weatherford. My guest today.
You forgot where you were for a minute? You looked at me and forgot where you were.
I looked at you and I forgot everything.
I think that's a compliment.
Yeah, well, my guest today is Jean Gibson, my wife, and Rick Clark of Clark Homes. And Ricky, you want to tell us about you again today, or?
Well, the reason I'm here today is because my friend Jim here invited me to his radio show that he puts on for his master builders stuff. Yeah. Anyway, I'm a friend of his. Build houses out there in Jim's Edition. And
why is your house energy efficient? What did you do that was different than a production house?
Well, the first off, vinyl windows, extra insulation, solar tech decking. Stuff such as that, thermoplow on the outside. It's a lot goes into it.
Yeah, there's a lot more behind the walls than you know about. I mean, and anyway. And
I need to commend both of you because listening to you with the code of ethics, both of you have put your names on your companies.
That's correct.
And it's the Texas mentality of giving your word is what Jim told me that a long time ago, that his word was it. He doesn't have to write things down. If he's given you his word, that's his bond. And with every house, his name is on that. He's giving his bond. And you've done the same thing, Rick. It's Clark Homes. You stand behind your home.
Well, that's the reason we don't. I was asked at one time to dumb down the houses, and I won't put my name on a house that has to be dumbed down less than my specifications. And also, I've signed this code of ethics, and I want to use the best building practices possible to.
Well, if you'll remember, Jim, whenever we met, you kind of felt me out a little bit to find out for sure just what kind of house I was going to build before you ever even let me in your addition.
Right.
Oh, yeah. We discussed that at length.
I'm pretty particular about who comes in. I mean,
because it reflects on us.
Right.
Well, it means a lot to everybody, especially, when you put your name on something, you want it to be top notch.
You want it to be the best there is. Anyway, what we're going to do today, we're talking about general construction, and we're going to talk basically where to start. We'll start with that topic, where to start. And the very first thing anybody needs to do, and I've had a problem here with some customers in the past 2 years that they're asking for the moon and don't have the money, or can't get the financing. I mean, they're asking for too much. And so very first thing you should do is set a budget and line up your financing.
See, and I basically disagree with that concept, because before you get to a budget,
right,
first of all, you've got to decide, do you have the personality for building a home? You know, there's a lot of decisions. You make life easier for your clients. I appreciate that. But there are still a lot of decisions. So you have to decide, are you the type of person that can make decisions? Should you buy a house, a used house, a house that somebody's already built, a brand new house from a builder that's already finished? Should you remodel whatever you're in? And do you have the personality to go ahead with construction and make decisions? If you do have those components in place and you and your spouse have talked about it, you're not going to kill each other over this house.
Yeah, well, we try to make, as you well know, we try to make it as easy on our clients as possible. I think they just kind of flow through it. But I give them all the choices. They've got to be able to make the choices, pick the color, pick the carpet, pick the, the brick, pick the rock.
Take
whatever.
my advice. Just let your wife do it.
Yeah. Well, most of them do.
Or a decorator.
Or a decorator.
Still, you need to get pre-qualified on anything. And, that way you know where you stand, and because, like I said, we've had clients spend money on prints and stuff, and you pay by square foot on these prints to have them drawn up, whatever it may be. It can end up being several $1,000s, and then they take it in, and the appraiser comes back, and it's appraised at like $1.2 million, and they got a $400,000 budget. Yeah. Then it's not going to happen. And
how about a rule of thumb? Not to say that this is what you're going to spend, but a rule of thumb. If you do $100 or $125 a square foot.
There is no rule of thumb because every individual.
But this is me sitting back guesstimating that I would really like a 25,000 square foot house.
Yeah,
but my budget can afford a 2,000 square foot house. Is there a rule of thumb that before you go to the bank, before you do blueprints, as you're thinking this thing through?
I think the most important thing is decide what means the most to you first. Whether it be the square footage or whether it be energy efficiency, for example, or location means a lot.
Right.
Downtown LA apartment.
Really?
600 square foot for $500,000.
Yeah, the houses we build here, Ricky, you and I've had people come out from California and say, "Well, your house there would be $500,000, $600,000, $1 million."
Right. Typically, homes in the South are valued much less than homes anywhere else.
Well, it's the price of dirt most of the time. When you're spending $100,000 or $1 million for a lot, your house starts at $1 million, no matter what you put on it. But anyway, I still think once you get your plans together and before you get your plans, you need to be able to figure out what you can afford. I mean, you don't want to go down to the architect or have somebody draw one up that there's no way in the world that you can afford that.
Another thing that they need to think about is taxes and insurance as well on the end. Because a lot of folks, in my line of business, a lot of folks think they can afford something and they go out and they buy it, and then they find out, once a year that tax payment is due, and it's, basically puts them out a lot of the time.
Oh yeah,
especially in these mobile homes.
And our taxes out here in Parker, outside the metroplex of Dallas and Tarrant counties, so much less than they are in the city, and that does give us a break. We can get a bigger house. Have a little more to spend when you're spending $2,000 instead of what my son's tax bill was $7,000 or $8,000.
Yeah, he's got a small house, just because of the area he's located in. But anyway,
first thing you do is set a budget.
Yeah, set a budget. We got that.
You can go to the bank and get pre-qualified.
Yeah, and that's the best thing to do because the bank is going to tell you what you can afford, what you can't afford pretty well, and they do a real good job of it. And once you decided on that, you can either pick out your lot, and you need to pick it out the size you want, and you need to know your building lot lines, whether they be 20 foot from the sides, 50 foot from the front. 50
and what's the benefit of going into a development and buying a lot over just buying raw land?
Main benefit is it depends on what you've got in development. There's no. What's your question again? I mean, what I'm thinking of is that what we've run into, that people have
raw land. They have to bring in a road where with a development, the road's already cut in. They have to run power lines for great distances. We had one house that was pre-approved, and he had this gigantic distance. Remember
$17,000 to bring in the power.
Yeah.
What he had done, he had bought a 10-acre plot that was landlocked, and it was I can't remember the distance, but it was a long way off the road. And he says, "We got to take another break. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes."
Did you know that some of the best home builders in the entire nation are right here in Parker County? Hello, everyone. This is Lynn Bearden, president of First National Bank of Weatherford. Our lenders believe your family deserves the best when it comes to your dream home. First National Bank is proud to support the Master Builder Show on QXFM. First National Bank in Weatherford has been building homes in Parker County since 1880. Member FDIC and an equal housing lender.
YourCircleOfWealth.com. A recent study by one of the world's largest financial institutions estimates that over 90% of baby boomers will not retire financially independent. We have prepared a financial report entitled Your Circle of Wealth. Learn how changing the way you manage your money can dramatically increase your wealth. To get a copy, you may go to www.yourcircleofwealth.com and enter the passcode Gibson, Gibson. That's yourcircleofwealth.com.
Fort Worth Lighting, serving the building professional in Parker, Wise, Palo Pinto, and surrounding counties. The services include planned takeoff, site walkthrough, and delivery. To make an appointment with a Fort Worth Lighting consultant, you may call 817-597-6320 or visit us on the web at ftworthlighting.com, 817-597-6320. Zion Hill Estates, 5 minutes from the center of Weatherford, grocery stores, hospitals, banks, and department stores. In the Peaster School District, 1 acre lot minimums give you space to spread your arms and enjoy country living. Jim Gibson will build you the home of your dreams in Zion Hill Estates. North of the square to 920, left to Zion Hill Road, then 2.4 miles to Zion Hill Estates. Jim Gibson would like to show you the land in his energy-efficient model home. You can call Jim at 682-429-2116. Gibson Home Builders Incorporated, 2401 Zion Hill Road, Weatherford, Texas, 682-429-2116. We specialize in homes to suit each and every individual that expects special attention. We help design, finance, and close on every home we build. We use green building techniques in all of our homes. You can contact Jim at masterbuildershow.com. Gibson Home Builders Incorporated, Weatherford, 682-429-2116. Welcome back to the Master Builder Show. I'm your host, Jim Gibson. Today's show is sponsored by the First National Bank of Weatherford. My guests are my wife, Jean Gibson, and Ricky Clark of Clark Homes. How are y'all this morning? Hello.
Still wide awake, yes.
Still wide awake? You drinking a coffee this morning?
Not quite. I'm still after another cup myself.
When we left, we were talking about where do you start to build your new home, and we talked about you need to find out how much money you've got to spend. And without knowing that, you can't go any further. Then you need to either, if you have a lot, you need to know your building lot lines, what you have to build in, the parameters you have to build in, whether it be 20 foot off the front, 30 foot off the front, 20 foot off the sides, and how far off the back. And that way you can go out and string out your house.
Where do you find out that?
That's going to be on your survey. And, it'll be whoever put in the development, but it'll actually be on your survey, your building lot lines. It says right on there.
It makes a big difference also if you're building inside the city limits or outside the city limits, right, Jim?
Yeah, definitely.
Why?
I found out whenever I was looking at some lots in Weatherford that they have certain conditions that you got to meet before you can build on certain lots, especially in the older neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They've come a long way on their guidelines and stuff that they require since these older homes were built, such as which way the garage faces. You've got to have so much parking area provided for each
Right.
resident.
They
and
don't want you
stuff like
parking all
that.
over the streets anymore.
Yeah, and like you said, you've got to be so many feet away from the property line. So there's a lot goes into it, especially when you build inside the city limits.
Well, yeah, and you've got to make sure you stay in your building lot lines and city limits, or you can't sell the house.
And you've got to have everything that you're going to do approved ahead of time by the,
Right. Yeah.
I believe they call it the zoning commission. I'm not
Well,
sure
yeah,
exactly.
what you do, you go in and they've got planning and zoning, but really you just take your plans in, and they will usually they'll look at them and approve them to be built in the city limits.
But who's doing this, approving them, taking them in stuff? Isn't that the builder, or is that the resident?
The builder takes it in. I mean,
Okay,
we're talking about being whoever's building the house has to take it in. And
so this isn't something that the homeowner is doing.
No.
They pick their lot, and then they have to start relying on their builder.
Well, yeah, and like I said, we're starting out. We've got our financing in place, and the next thing you want to do is know your building lot lines, and that way, if you're going to have plans drawn, you know the footprint that the plans can go in, and or if you don't have a lot, you need to buy a lot that the house will fit on if you've already got your plans. But you've got to have your plans before you get to financing, and the next thing you need to do is go out there and lay it out. I mean, take some sticks and strings.
It's my
and all
favorite
this
part.
Stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part. And
Yeah.
figure out how you want to position it on the lot, and what's where your best views are, and all this other stuff. I mean, you don't want to turn a house backwards on a lot, but anyway. I mean,
As well as which way you face the house makes a big difference in the energy efficiency of it.
yeah.
Is that correct?
Ah,
yeah,
yes.
definitely. I mean, I like to face all my houses north. Because we live to the south, and you put large overhangs on the south, and you get the sun in the wintertime, but you don't get the sun in the summertime, and blocks it out. But it provides light for your house at little or no cost to you, because the sun is free, fairly free anyway.
And you know how you situate your windows and stuff like that makes a big difference as well on
Right.
where you put your windows in your house.
Right? Yeah, you don't
That west wall.
We try not to put it on the west wall if we can, or put the least amount on the west wall. And then if you've got some windows on the west wall, the best thing you can do is plant trees or something to block that afternoon
Get some
sun.
kind of windbreak.
Get some kind of sun break. Yeah, because that afternoon sun beating here in Texas, it gets real warm,
brutal.
and
Yeah.
it'll raise the temperature tremendously.
Well, the type of building materials that you've got today are so much more energy efficient than they used to be as well.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just, like your low E windows and stuff like that
Right.
makes a big difference.
Well, they're mandatory here in Texas now. You've got to put in a low E, and there's different levels of low E. And we did, I think, a whole show on windows there when we were talking about air conditioning and heating
When did
systems.
it become mandatory? That was the
It's
That's
been
this
several
year's
years
changes?
back.
Oh,
No,
years ago.
no, it's been several years back. They just made it a law that all new construction had to be low E when you're installing your windows.
Can you have a low E aluminum window?
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. The
Okay.
glass
So the
has
it's the
nothing
glass.
to do with the frame. But your frame and all that stuff is measured on on several factors. But we're not talking about windows today. We're talking.
No. I ask questions when I think of them.
All right, we got. You want to actually go out there and string out what you can and look at it. And if you can pick a lot that doesn't have a lot of excavation to do or fill, you're better off. It's better off to excavate because you don't have to. If you can go down to bare soil and build your house on that, you don't have to worry about piering it and stuff like that. But if you're building up any height at all, you have to worry about it settling because the ground doesn't settle on your fill. I mean, you can bring in select fill, and you're supposed to compact it to 95% and have a compaction test done. But you're talking about now the select fill is gotten real high. Plus, they got to pay for the gas to haul it out there, and it takes a lot of dirt to do major fills, and so you try to avoid that if you can. Cutting away is better, and you want to slope away from the foundation at about 5%. Keep the water away from your building. What you were going to say something?
I was just thinking of tree-filled lots.
Well,
and the joy of all the trees. And we talked about, Ricky, we talked about trees last week, and the amount of protection that was required. But there's a lot of expense involved, too, in going in and removing trees, right?
Well, you want to try to save as many trees as you can. And, we had that complete section on trees last week.
Mm-hmm.
And, you don't want to damage any of the trees, and just mark the ones you want to remove, and, try to work around your trees, because it takes a long time to grow a tree normally.
But as opposed to a bare lot or a minimal tree covered lot.
It depends on what you want.
No, I mean going in and removing trees is an added expense in the lot preparation.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, anything you have to do to the lot on your pad site preparation, your clean off, and all that stuff costs you money. So the minimal amount that you can do and get away with is the best, but you want to make sure that it's done right. And what we do is after we picked our spot and strung it all out, the purpose of the stringing it all out is because we have soil analysis done. And we hire a soil lab, and they send out a drilling rig, and he comes out and he'll bore down 20 foot and to opposing corners, diagonally usually at both ends of the house. And then they go down 20 foot, and then they'll take that back to the lab, and they will do a soil breakdown and tell you what kind of soil, where the water content is, the PI index.
And, of course, how much fill you're going to have to bring into your lot to make it, serviceable level spot, right?
Yeah, well, they're pretty well going to tell you what you have to do to make a house stand there. And there's a lot of areas that you don't have to do anything. There's a bunch of areas that you have to do major things. Like we built a house down here in Granbury, right, fairly close to the water, and we hit water when they did the boring at 6 feet. And he was wanting an ICF home, so what we had to do is go in and remove 36 inches of soil, 36 inches down. And it cost, we had, I forget how many trucks come in there with select fill, and I had to put down a Marafi fabric down at the 36-inch level, 3 foot down. And then we backfilled that.
Say that again. The what did you have to put down?
A Marafi, I believe I'm pronouncing it right. It's a Marafi fabric. It's a particular type of fabric that you put down that will let water kind of penetrate through it. But what it does, it has a 350 PSI punch rate, but you put your fill on top of that and keeps it from actually blending with the soil below and actually making the soil stay where you put it.
Oh, okay.
And anyway, we brought in, I think it was $9,000 worth of dirt. And I had to rent a 10,000-pound compactor. And we were vibrating dishes off the walls in some of the houses around there. We had some people come out, and I think I bought a few dishes and pictures.
So what you're saying, the type of soil makes a big difference.
Type of soil makes a huge difference, and depends on your plastic index. And there's major things that you can't tell just by looking at the top of the dirt and say this is what's down there. You don't know what's down 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 or 20 feet, and so you want to make sure. Well, right now, we're responsible for the structure for 10 years, and I sleep a lot better knowing that I'm putting the load on whoever engineered the slab.
Right. I've looked at a lot of new houses that, brand new homes haven't even been lived in yet. You walk in, the sheetrock will be cracked everywhere, especially over the doors. Right.
And what's that an indication of?
Foundation problems, settling.
Yeah, it depends on where they're cracking, but if you got a lot of movement, you're going to have a lot of cracks. And
explain your 10 years that you're liable. Why are you liable? Why not a week and a half? What's the law?
The law is 10 years, and there will be companies out there say, "Oh, we offer 1 year of craftsmanship, 2 years all your mechanicals, which is your plumbing, your electrical, and air conditioning systems, and 10 years in structure." And well, that's the law. They have to offer it. I mean, it's kind of like a moot point why they offer it. You have to offer it. I mean, it's you don't have to offer it. I mean, it's there. When you build a house, put your name on it. You're responsible for that house for 10 years.
So who made this mandatory?
TRCC.
Texas Residential Construction
And that's
Commission.
the same group that does the registrations. That's the same group you talk to
when
you're looking for a builder.
Assess fines and penalties and such as that if you don't follow their rules and regulations.
Up to $1,000 a day.
Yes, it's not very common today that you find a builder that's building homes that's not registered with TRCC. And if they are building, like Jim said earlier, if they are, you don't want to use that builder.
Well, yeah, you want to steer away from them. If they're not conscientious enough to go ahead and follow all the rules of building, You don't really want to be moving into one of their houses if they're not following the rules. I mean, because they're not really following all the rules and all the codes and all this other stuff if they're scrimping on that.
So we're not talking about a social club here at all. We're talking about the law. Texas is protecting the homeowner.
Yeah, and it's getting more stringent each year as they go along, and they're going to require more and more education to the builders. And that's one of the benefits of being a member of the builders associations around Texas and stuff like that, is that they stay on top of all your political activities that are going on, and plus they offer educational classes monthly. And things change so much here. Technology doesn't stay the same, and it just keeps on progressing, whether you stand still or not.
Yeah.
And so all the new changes coming about, you need to stay aware of. And that's part of my pledge, is that I will stay up on all. I will stay current on all the new techniques and everything that goes on in the building industry. That is my business. That is my business to know that business. So
I was talking to a construction attorney this past weekend, and she was saying that come this next go around in the law, next September, I guess, is when everything goes into effect. She said there's massive changes coming up again. This past September, there were some big changes, and there's a bunch more coming up this following September.
Yeah, one of the main things coming up is every building will have to be third-party inspected on every step, and they'll have to do the foundation inspection, pre-pour inspection on that.
The third party inspects that early?
Yeah. It's just like they do in the cities now. Mm-hmm. And then they'll come back and do a framing inspection with your mechanical inspection and all this other stuff.
And that's free?
No. That's the problem with it. It's not free. It'll have to be paid for by somebody. So,
is that determined yet?
The end result is going to be whoever buys a house is going to be paying for it.
So what are we talking, $50 or $5,000? Is there no indication yet?
No indication yet.
And who are the inspectors to be? Will they be from the TRCC inspectors?
They're going to be TRCC inspectors.
Well, I understand they'll be TRCC certified, but not necessarily from TRCC. Right. They'll have to meet their specifications.
So private companies will be popping up that do the inspections?
Yes, there will.
Yeah, and we need to kind of stay off this subject. I'm not a lawyer, and
that's true. But we're just talking about compliance and.
Well, I know, but I plan on having a lawyer on here on construction law.
Good.
And we will go over all those things now.
Excellent.
Right now, we're just talking about basic building.
Yep.
And building practices. And like I said, site evaluation, soil analysis, and engineered foundations. A big must in my book. They're not required yet, but you've got like I said, you can't just look at a piece of dirt on the top and tell what's down below. And without knowing that, like I said, it's not required, and there's a lot of builders that don't do it, and a lot of builders don't have any problems. And but I sleep better at night because you've got about a 50-50 chance of a foundation failure if you don't know what's down below it. I mean, it just you may hit it lucky, you may not. And
that can change from one lot to the next in the same edition really fast, can it not?
Yeah, it can. It can change within 300. Well, I think right now the law is you're supposed to have one done every 300 feet if you're building a subdivision in. So that pretty well covers every lot. On most, like in my subdivision, they're minimum 1 acre lots, so they're going to be 300 foot apart or thereabouts.
But you said you drilled 2 holes for the soil analysis?
They bored 2 on each site, and that particular foundation is engineered for that specific house on that specific site. So it's site specific. And
what would an engineer tell you about that? He's the engineered foundation. This is the slab.
Right.
What's he going to come back and tell you? What kind of things?
He's going to tell you the type of foundation that you need to put in, whether you need piers, the size of beams, how many footings, your footings. He's actually going to draw up the slab for you, and you're going to take that drawing, and he'll have his stamp and his seal, his Texas seal on there, and he'll sign that, and he's responsible really for that slab. Even though if you've got a failure, it comes back to the builder. But at least you've got some fallback to go to because he's put his seal on there, and this goes back to the soil lab, what the soil lab gave to the engineer to engineer the slab. But it's a pretty big deal. It's a pretty big deal.
What type of engineers are these people that do these foundations? Don't know specific. I don't know what kind. Okay.
Well, I use Barnett Engineering over here. Is who I use. But all right, and we pretty well beat that dog to death. Let's go to pre-pour considerations. Okay, after you got the form set up and all this other, what you normally have done is you bring your plumbers in. They tear up your pad tremendously.
Yeah, really. Good old plumbers.
Anyway, they put in all your drain lines. They used to put in a lot of copper lines and all that stuff, but copper's got so high, and we've had problems with copper breaking in the slabs. And so we've pretty well gotten away from that. And
some of that new technology you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, we've gone to PEX systems and all that. And it looks like Ace is saying we've got another break coming up. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Did you know that some of the best home builders in the entire nation are right here in Parker County? Hello, everyone. This is Lynn Bearden, president of First National Bank of Weatherford. Our lenders believe your family deserves the best when it comes to your dream home. First National Bank is proud to support the Master Builder Show on QXFM. First National Bank in Weatherford has been building homes in Parker County since 1880. Member FDIC and an equal housing lender.
YourCircleOfWealth.com. A recent study by one of the world's largest financial institutions estimates that over 90% of baby boomers will not retire financially independent. We have prepared a financial report entitled Your Circle of Wealth. Learn how changing the way you manage your money can dramatically increase your wealth. To get a copy, you may go to www.yourcircleofwealth.com and enter the passcode Gibson, Gibson. That's yourcircleofwealth.com.
Fort Worth Lighting, serving Parker, Wise, Palo Pinto, and surrounding counties with selections of interior and exterior lighting fixtures. They also have ceiling fans, vanities, and mirrors in all styles. A lighting consultant will help you with your decisions. To make an appointment with Fort Worth Lighting Consultant, you may call 817-597-6320 or visit us on the web at ftworthlighting.com. That's 817-597-6320. Zion Hill Estates, 5 minutes from the center of Weatherford, grocery stores, hospitals, banks, and department stores. In the Peaster School District, 1 acre lot minimums give you space to spread your arms and enjoy country living. Jim Gibson will build you the home of your dreams in Zion Hill Estates. North of the square to 920, left to Zion Hill Road, then 2.4 miles to Zion Hill Estates. Jim Gibson would like to show you the land in his energy-efficient model home. You can call Jim at 682-429-2116. Gibson Home Builders Incorporated, 2401 Zion Hill Road, Weatherford, Texas, 682-429-2116. We specialize in homes to suit each and every individual that expects special attention. We help design, finance, and close on every home we build. We use green building techniques in all of our homes. You can contact Jim at masterbuildershow.com. Gibson Home Builders Incorporated, Weatherford, 682-429-2116. Welcome back to the Master Builder Show. I'm your host, Jim Gibson. Today's show is sponsored by the First National Bank of Weatherford. My guests today are Jean Gibson, my wife, and Ricky Clark of Clark Homes. And we've been talking about just residential construction.
Where do I begin?
Yeah, well, we covered where we began. We covered site evaluation. We're getting right now into pre-pour consideration. Before you actually go out there and pour the concrete, you've got your forms set up, and you've got your plumbers coming in. They're putting in all the drain pipes usually, and anything else you want in the slabs. That time is the time to get her down.
Wiring for your kitchen islands and stuff like that.
Wiring for your kitchen island. I've had to go back and cut them out because it's code that you've got to have a plug on the kitchen island. If you've got any down vents or downdraft vents that you're putting in, like putting in a cooktop and it's got downdraft instead of an exhaust fan.
Another thing you need to start thinking about is any kind of insect protection that you're going to put down in the slab. That's the time to do it.
Well, we do that, and now they've got some post sprays they put down now. They actually go in, they inject under it, and you can do it both ways. And I've had people prefer one way over the other. Some people are afraid it's going to come up through the slab, so they're kind of leery about spraying poison under there, and then some people aren't. So it just kind of, like I said, there's 2 or 3 different ways of doing it now, and I just usually let my customers figure out what they want.
Which way they want to go.
What they want to go. If you're going to have any electrical outlets in there,
the ones in the floor were
ones
the
in
tough
the floor,
ones.
yeah, because people, it's hard to look at at boards out there setting up the perimeter of your slab and figure out where your electrical outlets are going to go in your living room. And what we do is, it's not hard for us to figure out where they go. And once the customer decides on his plans, is a problem, because I tell them to cut out the furniture, cut it out in little pieces of paper, the same scale as the drawing, and position their couches and end tables,
everything.
and everything that they can position in that room. Position those, and that way they can get an idea of where to place those outlets. Because once those outlets are in there, they're in there. They're concreted in. And
the new one that is showing up is the TV set at the foot of the bed that rises up out of the credenza. So you've got to pre-plan to have all the cables in the slab for that TV set.
Or you can run them under the bed. You can run them from the wall under the bed.
Well, this was just I'm a home and garden and country living buff, and that's what they had it all come up. All the cable connections, all the power. So it's not just in the slab in the living room. It's where we've routinely done it.
Well, it's wherever you need it. I mean, the house up in Glen Rose, we had a laundry room was in the central location of the house and wasn't next to an outside wall. So what we did, we ran an actual dryer vent down out under the slab.
Oh.
The house was setting up pretty high on a hill up there on Vista Ridge, I guess it was. And we actually ran the dryer vent under the slab and out in that.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Well, you can either do that or run them out through the attic, or right through the attic and out over the roof. But it's just as easy to run them under the slab, sometimes more cost effective. But you need to make sure that everything gets placed before you start pouring. And the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to bring your concrete guys back, and they're going to be digging all your. Now, if you had to have piers, you'd have your piers dug and poured prior to your plumber coming in.
And define a pier.
A pier is a cylinder, I guess it is. It's just the old pier and beam houses. We still build some over in Las Colinas and areas that have high soil movement. But a pier is dug down, and it's dug down to engineer specifications, and there's several different kinds of piers. But anyway, they're just cylinders bored down in the ground.
Most people think that they always go down to bedrock, but that's not necessarily true.
No, I mean, bedrock.
In our neighborhood, bedrock's at about 2 foot.
5 feet.
5 feet, yeah.
Really shallow.
Yeah.
We kind of found that when we was digging septic systems out there, didn't we?
Yeah.
It took my septic guy 11 hours to dig the hole. And you could have, you thought it was a swimming pool. It was soft as a rock. But anyway, you want to make sure that you've got everything in there, and then they'll come back and dig all the footings and beams, and they'll place the plastic and then place the steel and tie off all the steel, and then you're ready to pour. Now, if an engineer has done your slab, they generally, before they will warranty the slab, they'll come out and do a pre-pour inspection after everything that's going in the slab is going in the slab. Prior to the concrete guy pouring the concrete, they will come out and inspect, and they're actually putting their name on that slab. And so they want to make sure that you got everything as it was engineered.
Why do they put down that black plastic under the cement?
To keep moisture from coming up through the slab.
Oh, okay. And it would make the cement dry out faster too. Doesn't it work both ways?
No, what it does, it slows, it retards it. It holds the water in.
You don't want your slab to dry fast?
Some soils will suck the water out, and they're trying to get it all poured and start working it and all this. I'm not the concrete guy, but anyway, like I said, it actually retards it.
It makes a big difference as well as what your weather conditions has been like previous to the pour.
Right.
How much rain you've had, stuff like that.
And we go through a lot of drought periods here. And I mean, you pour wet concrete into it, and it just sucks the water out. I mean, it's hard to move around. Another thing you want to look at it too is what I look at it is I like my concrete to be poured as dry as possible, and to work it. Now, the concrete workers, they would rather have it wet because it's easier to move around. But things you got to remember is the more water, the more shrinkage, the more cracks. So you want to pour it to whatever they've mixed it to. And if they start shooting a lot of water in there, well, as the water, as the concrete is doing its hydrating, it will, and it will start hardening.
When you talked about cracks a minute ago, Jim, you talking about surface cracks or structure cracks?
Well, that's the problem. Is you're going to pretty well all concrete cracks in Texas. And
there you go. It's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
But the things you want to avoid are your structural cracks. You're going to have surface cracks that are minimal. Some of them call them spiderweb cracks. I mean, there's all sorts of names for them.
And that's perfectly normal.
Yeah, that's perfectly normal, and it adds character.
Yeah, there you
go.
go.
That's something from the floor staining guys
right.
too.
Yeah, but
it does add character. It's beautiful.
Add character. Looks like we got to take another break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Did you know that some of the best home builders in the entire nation are right here in Parker County? Hello, everyone. This is Lynn Bearden, president of First National Bank of Weatherford. Our lenders believe your family deserves the best when it comes to your dream home. First National Bank is proud to support the Master Builder Show on QXFM. First National Bank in Weatherford has been building homes in Parker County since 1880. Member FDIC and an equal housing lender.
YourCircleOfWealth.com. A recent study by one of the world's largest financial institutions estimates that over 90% of baby boomers will not retire financially independent. We have prepared a financial report entitled Your Circle of Wealth. Learn how changing the way you manage your money can dramatically increase your wealth. To get a copy, you may go to www.yourcircleofwealth.com and enter the passcode Gibson, Gibson. That's yourcircleofwealth.com.
Fort Worth Lighting, serving the building professional in Parker, Wise, Palo Pinto, and surrounding counties. The services include planned takeoff, site walkthrough, and delivery. To make an appointment with a Fort Worth Lighting consultant, you may call 817-597-6320 or visit us on the web at ftworthlighting.com, 817-597-6320. Zion Hill Estates, 5 minutes from the center of Weatherford, grocery stores, hospitals, banks, and department stores. In the Peaster School District, 1 acre lot minimums give you space to spread your arms and enjoy country living. Jim Gibson will build you the home of your dreams in Zion Hill Estates. North of the square to 920, left to Zion Hill Road, then 2.4 miles to Zion Hill Estates. Jim Gibson would like to show you the land in his energy-efficient model home. You can call Jim at 682-429-2116. Gibson Home Builders Incorporated, 2401 Zion Hill Road, Weatherford, Texas, 682-429-2116. We specialize in homes to suit each and every individual that expects special attention. We help design, finance, and close on every home we build. We use green building techniques in all of our homes. You can contact Jim at masterbuildershow.com. Gibson Home Builders Incorporated, Weatherford, 682-429-2116. Welcome back to the Master Builder Show. I am your host, Jim Gibson. Today's show is sponsored by the First National Bank of Weatherford. My guests today are my wife, Jean Gibson, and Ricky Clark from Clark Homes. Anyway, we were talking about, pre-pour consideration to make. Make sure you got everything in there before you pour the concrete, because it's a mess to try to fix it after you do it. And we during the break here, we were talking about why people should choose a builder. Mm-hmm. And one of the main things, you can save, if you build it yourself, you're saving probably what you're paying the builder in fees. But
Everything you buy, you don't get the same discounts as a builder, and we get anywhere from 15, 20, 25, and up to 50% at times discount over retail.
Because of the quantity of products that you purchase from these retailers, correct?
Relationships. We buy wholesale, period.
Right.
And the thing that we were discussing that I really think needs to be hammered home is this is overwhelming. I would not want to do this myself. We invariably have people who say that they can save the $1.25 commission that they pay you by building the house themselves. And then you start listening to all the things you have to know. This is why you hire a professional builder.
Well,
they know professional subcontractors because, believe me, that's a whole other problem by itself if you don't have people that you know and can trust and can count on.
Well, pretty well all of our guys have worked for us for 6 to 7 years, and we just got word that I'm going to have to change air conditioning people.
Oh, no.
Bill is retiring, and anyway, he's worked for me for, I guess, 7 years now, and he's done all my air conditioning work. But
good man.
The main thing is, if you're trying to do it yourself and trying to cut corners, there's no cutting corners in building a house right. I mean, you can use less expensive products, but on your structure and all your things you're actually doing to make it energy efficient, you need to pay attention to and put those items in there and leave out some of the other lesser important things that you can always come back and replace later on. I mean, if you're saving if your electric bill is less than $100 a month year round, you can save enough to buy a new floor later, a year or two down the road.
And we talked about this, prioritizing the budget.
Prioritizing the budget.
But with all of this stuff, this is overwhelming. And we've built ourselves plenty of houses. I mean, the downside to being a builder is that you build houses and you move into another one and you keep building and moving. And it's been very simple because I don't have to make these decisions.
Oh, yeah, you do.
I pick out faucet finishes.
Color. I
pick out the paint on the wall. I don't decide who's building the right kind of foundation.
No. But like I said, we kind of covered that pouring the foundation. The wet, the main thing is the wetter the pour, the more shrinkage you have. The more shrinkage you have, the more cracks you have. And so, like I said, I like to see them pour it pretty dry. When they pour it, and once you get your foundation poured, we want to talk probably about the framing and going ahead and putting the house in the dry. And what that involves is actually going ahead and framing it up, putting all your windows in, getting a roof on it so you can work on it the rest of the time, whether the weather's good or bad, and you're actually just taking it out of the weather at that time.
But framing is just sticks.
Not necessarily.
Oh, no. I was a framing contractor for over 22 years. There's a lot to it, and there's good ones and there's bad ones.
Yeah.
By the way, I have a very good framer that frames my homes, and as well as the one that framed yours done a very good job as well.
Well, I've used this last go around. I used Gary Fowler.
You did use Gary. Well,
yeah, and
he done a really good job.
He's impressive. He's impressive. My waste. I look at waste and breakage and all this stuff. When he came out, he had a trailer that he brought out. And on that trailer, I usually have the framing contractors come out, and you buy so much wood, and they take all your wood. They cut it up to make the sawhorses with. They're using it for scaffolding, and they're using it for all sorts of stuff, and then they use it in the house. And then whatever lumber you got left over is either damaged, cut, got a hole in it. Well, the lumber companies won't take it back or won't pick it up. Gary was real meticulous about stacking it, keeping his people off of it. And I was super, super impressed with Gary.
I've used Gary for years. He's great. He's probably the best known framer in this area.
Well,
I was impressed just to see him bring his own sawhorses because that just annoys me, and they leave them behind.
Right.
It's such a huge waste of lumber. What were you saying? It's $1 a foot or whatever. This big wood
people don't realize
costs.
you spend $1,000 just in sawhorses and stuff and scaffolding on the job. And, he saves you that money. So even though he may charge you a little more per square foot, he's actually saving you money in the long run because he brought all his own scaffolding too, all his own scaffolding boards.
I mean, he's a structural expert. I mean, he knows what to put where.
He needed and didn't use any of my material to build anything to stand on.
Right.
He used all the material to actually go into the house, and it was incredible. And Gary, if you're listening, I think you did a great job, and we're just playing you a pretty good comment. And it looks like we're going to have to wrap up today's show, and it has been a pleasure talking to you. My guest was Ricky Clark. He is running for Constable, Precinct 2. So get out there and
vote on
March 4th, Republican primary.
All right. We'll see you next Tuesday.